Hi, I'm Steve Sandhuff, and I'm here to talk with you some more about some legal cases that I've been involved with related to the Georgia DNR and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service taking turtles that I had in my backyard in my basement. Live turtles is a private collection. Eventually, after a seizure July 21st, 2005, I was thrown in jail. That's right, thrown in jail for having turtles that I had 20 years. Now, why was I thrown in jail? I had these turtles for a long time. The charges were violations of that Wildlife Act of 1973, but we talked about that in the previous video explaining that the Georgia DNR is at fault for violating the Wildlife Act. But now we're going to talk about the powers of arrest by a conservation officer. And what exactly are their powers? Now, they are peace officers for the state of Georgia. They have powers to arrest for all of the Georgia statutes, but they're particularly empowered to enforce the wildlife code for the state of Georgia. They're called Conservation Rangers. They're Gamewardens. That's a respectful term for them, Gamewardens. But in Georgia, they're called DNR Conservation Rangers. 27.119 right here. Powers of Conservation Rangers and Deputy Conservation Rangers to arrest persons. I'm going to read to you a portion of A. Notwithstanding any other provision of law to the contrary, Conservation Rangers and Deputy Conservation Rangers, when authorized to do so by the Board, may arrest persons accused of violating any law or regulation which such officers are empowered to enforce by the issuance of a citation, provided that the offense is committed in the presence of the officer or information concerning the offense constituting a basis for the arrest was received by an arresting officer, blah, blah, blah. Now we're going to go to B. If a person charged shall fail to appear as specified in the citation, the judge having jurisdiction of the offense may issue a warrant ordering the apprehension of the person and commanding that he be brought before the court to answer the charges contained within the citation and the charge of his failure to appear as required. The person shall then be allowed to make a reasonable bond to appear on a given date before the court. Okay, in my case, the Conservation Ranger went out and got an arrest warrant. That's after the search warrant. Now, I was already suing the Conservation Ranger in federal court for violation of search and seizure, Fourth Amendment statutes, but I was arrested in November from a search that occurred in July, and I was given a $36,000 bond, between $33,000 and $36,000 with some of the additional fees. It was over $33,600. But I was never issued a citation. Now, I just heard last month in federal court in another case against the federal officers, a federal officer said, well, geez, this state conservation ranger could have just written a ticket. Yeah, he could have just written a ticket, and he should have just written a ticket. Not only did he have no violation of state law, but had it really been a violation of state law, it would have been a ticket, not an arrest. Now, I could have spent 3 years in jail waiting for a trial, because it took me 3 years to get a trial. I was out on bond, $33,600 plus bond. But what I'm here to tell you is the state of Georgia doesn't seem to have the power to arrest for a wildlife violation by throwing somebody in jail. It seems that the legislature wanted the potentially alleged criminal violators to be issued a citation. And then only if they didn't appear in court would they be thrown in jail with a bond. Now, I was already suing in 2 different jurisdictions, the DNR, the Georgia DNR, and the state officer. So why would I not appear in court on a citation? So consequently, I have a suit on the false arrest and malicious prosecution currently pending. But I wanted to let you all know that what happened to me is a lot more than just taking the turtles from my house. Some people have said, well, why do you continue to sue the Georgia DNR? Because all of my damages have not been addressed in a single lawsuit. They can't possibly be addressed in a single lawsuit. So I have to seek other additional remedies. And eventually, when I exhaust my remedies, I will no longer be in court, and I'll be able to proceed with the rest of my life. Thank you.